And we will now begin the business question. Shadow Leader of the House.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Will the Leader of the House give us the forthcoming business?
Leader
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The business for the week commencing the 19th of January will include Monday the 19th of January, remaining stages of the Public Office Accountability Bill, Tuesday the 20th of January, consideration of Lord's amendments to the Sentencing Bill, followed by consideration of Lord's amendments to the Holocaust Memorial Bill, followed by consideration of Lord's amendments to the Diego Garcia Military Base and British Indian Ocean Territory Bill. Wednesday the 21st of January, Committee of the Whole House and remaining stages of the National Insurance Contributions, Employer Pensions Contributions Bill, followed by a motion to approve the draft Northern Ireland Troubles Legacy and Reconciliation Act 2023 remedial order. Thursday the 22nd of January, general debate on government support for the fishing industry, followed by a general debate on the impact of import standards on the agricultural sector. The subject for these debates were determined by the Backbench Business Committee. Friday the 23rd of January, the House will not be sitting. The provisional business for the week commencing the 26th of January includes Monday the 26th of January, second reading of the Armed Forces Bill, Tuesday the 27th of January, consideration of an allocation of time motion, followed by all stages of the Medical Training Prioritisation Bill, Wednesday the 28th of January, an opposition day on a motion in the name of the official opposition, subject to be announced. Thursday the 29th of January, general debate on Holocaust Memorial Day. The subject for this debate was determined by the Backbench Business Committee, and Friday the 30th of January, the House will not be sitting.
Shadow Leader of the House.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. I thank the Leader very much for the clarity he's given us on the business, and in particular the scheduling of the Diego Garcia Bill immediately after it was going to be as a result of the Hillsborough changes that he's made. Madam Deputy Speaker, I know the whole House will want to join me in expressing our continuing concern for the people of Iran in the face of the vicious repression that they have and apparently may continue to face. If I may, I want to raise two issues today, one big one and one small, but I think in its own way also big. The first is the issue of defence and security. This week we had the Chief of the Defence Staff in front of the Defence Select Committee, and he revealed that the Strategic Defence Review was not fully costed, despite all of the assurances that were given at the time to the committee and to Parliament. And the result of that has been that the Defence Investment Plan has been delayed repeatedly, and now, as it appears, until March. Why? Because apparently the government, the Treasury, is seeking to come to terms with the fact that we are in a pre-war situation and that the actual cash spending power of many of our armed forces, this is a topic to be of enormous importance to the whole House, the actual cash spending power of many of our armed forces will barely grow over the next 2 years. I raise that, but I also would be grateful for the Leader's specific assurance that he will speak to Number 10 in the Cabinet Office and ensure that my Shadow Cabinet colleagues continue to receive the appropriate security briefings as they require to do their job. I would say one further thing. On the issue of pubs and hospitality that has consumed so much power, concern and interest of this House, we are always apt to get lost in generalities. And that's, in a way, a condition of politics. We debate the laws of the country and the general issues. But I think it's also very important to zero in from time to time on a particular fact situation and use that to try to get a wider sense of what's happening. And in particular, I want to put in front of the House the actual and specific facts in one particular case in relation to hospitality. This concerns the Bay Horse Inn in my own constituency in Hereford, on the outskirts of Hereford, a great country pub supporting local people serving my constituents. From April of this year, the Bay Horse's business rates are scheduled to rise from £31,000 to over £51,000. £1,000 a year, a 67% increase. The landlord, Neil, tells me that the energy costs there have now risen to £5,500 a month. Unlike households, there is no price cap for commercial energy. Indeed, pubs are charged risk premia and are locked into prices of nearly 40p a unit, while domestic customers pay around 28p. The pub already pays above the minimum wage. And Neil estimates that the rise in the national living wage will add £18,000 a year to his costs. Meanwhile, monthly national insurance contributions have risen by nearly 170%, made worse because the higher employer contributions now exhaust the employment allowance more quickly. This is a direct tax on employing people, especially young people, and it lands hardest on small, labour-intensive businesses such as pubs. Now, Neil has a few guest rooms at the Bay Horse, so he doesn't even know if he'll be helped by the latest rumour of a U-turn on rates support. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, this is the reality of the government's unwillingness or inability to join up policy in relation to a key set of sectors in the economy, in hospitality. All of these increases are the result of current ministerial decisions. Every member in this House, every member opposite, will have pubs and hospitality businesses in the same situation as this one. And the Bay Horse is not just a business, it's raised over £60,000 for the Hereford Lions Club. It's installed a defibrillator at the landlord's own expense. It provides supervised, responsible drinking. It supports schools, the hospice, and local causes year after year, yet government policy treats it as expendable. So the question is, when a minister is going to start talking to each other, put away the rhetoric of helping and actually get on with assisting small businesses? And can we have a debate in this House which debates not just the specific issue of hospitality, but the generality of all of the different government policies across different departments that make life so difficult for these hard-working, struggling local businesses?
Leader of the House.
Madam Deputy Speaker, and I certainly join the Shadow Leader of the House in sending our thoughts to the people of Iran at this very, and indeed in the region at this very difficult time. May I also send our congratulations to Lord Forsyth, who was announced as the new Lord Speaker earlier this week, and I want to pay tribute to Lord McFall as the outgoing Lord Speaker for his service and his commitment. Madam Deputy Speaker, I am glad to welcome the Shadow Leader back to his place this week. Last week he was on a Shadow Cabinet away day. I thought that he might want to start by giving us a readout for that, as to whether or not a place was set at the top table for the Leader of the Opposition's new advisor, Nadeem Zahawi, who shortly afterwards had his own away day when he defected to Reform. But I understand also, Madam Deputy Speaker, from breaking news that things get worse for the Leader of the Opposition, who's just sacked her Justice Secretary and rival amidst rumours that he was about to join Reform too. So we watch with interest developments there. Can I address the points that the honourable gentleman raised on defence and give him assurance that he knows, because he's a member of the Defence Select Committee and takes a keen interest in these matters. He knows how difficult often these decisions are, but we are absolutely committed as a government to increasing defence expenditure and also to making whatever decisions are necessary to defend our country. As far as briefings are concerned, he raises an important matter about access to the information that the opposition, official opposition in particular, require. He knows that I am a strong advocate of the role of the official opposition. I spent quite a long time in opposition myself. It is important that the opposition get access, and I will take back to Number 10 and others his request and ensure that happens. On the point of pubs, which he's perfectly entitled to raise, there are some fantastic pubs in his constituency and in that part of the country, and he is right to do so. But I would gently remind him that 7,000 pubs closed under the Conservatives, And in this budget, we put £4.3 billion worth of support over 3 years to help pubs deal with the transition on support that they previously received. On top of the other measures, other measures that we've taken, including easing licensing to help pubs offer drinks more flexibly, maintaining our cut to alcohol duty on draft pints and capping corporation tax. But we do recognise, Madam Deputy Speaker, that pubs are still worried and many of them are in a difficult situation, which is why the Chancellor has commissioned work examining a pubs support package. That's not just, as the Shadow Leader of the House alluded, that's not just words, Madam Deputy Speaker, that is action. And in terms of joined up policy across government, of course the government is joining up our approach, particularly on the economy, because the House may have noticed this morning that performance statistics show that waiting lists are down by 312,000 and more people are being treated within 18 weeks. November, Madam Deputy Speaker, actually saw the second biggest monthly drop in waiting lists in 15 years. The Government also announced this week that we will deliver Northern Powerhouse Rail, a multi-billion-pound investment which will create a turn-up-and-go railway across the northern growth corridor of Liverpool, Manchester, Bradford, Leeds, Sheffield and York. We've also launched the first-ever Town of Culture competition, which will boost local pride and celebrate the unique stories of our towns, not just urban areas, Madam Deputy Speaker, but rural areas too. And today, Madam Deputy Speaker, is National Pothole Day. The Leader of the Opposition might think it's National Dig Yourself Into a Hole Day, but it's actually National Pothole Day. And this Government has provided a record £7.3 billion of funding for local roads announced in the budget, allowing councils to get on and fix our roads, which just demonstrates, Madam Deputy Speaker, that this Government is getting on with the job.
Meg Hillier.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'm sure that the Leader of the House, like me and others, will be pleased to have learned that NHS waiting lists continue to drop today. And I'm sure he'll agree with me that the Homerton Hospital, which has seen productivity in operations increase by over 11% year on year, is a beacon of what can be done. And I hope he will join me in congratulating Hackney Council, which has facilitated the provision of 2 new GP practices and 50,000 extra appointments, because ultimately we need to stop people going into hospital and make sure they get that decent primary care.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I absolutely applaud the work of Hackney Council for the work that they are doing, because my right honourable friend identifies exactly the approach that needs to be taken in the future, and that is the approach that the Government will take, because what needs to happen is that hospital trusts and local authorities need to work closely together, and I'm delighted that in her part of the country we can demonstrate that that is the case.
Liberal Democrat spokesperson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And there are, of course, rumours circulating around Westminster of a Bobby about to join the Reform Party, and I just want to clarify that is not me. I am staying put. I quite enjoy watching the numbers dwindle to the right of me. Madam Deputy Speaker, we talk a lot about the Home Office, immigration and asylum in this place, and we mostly talk about people's right to come here and the shameful asylum backlog. But we talk much less about the people that are already here, the ones that have built their lives, held down jobs, paid taxes, raised a family, contributed. And Madam Deputy Speaker, I think the story of immigration in this country is largely a positive one, and it's sad that that is not said enough in this place. If you've worked hard, you've played by the rules, you deserve to be treated with respect. But the Home Office, unfortunately, is treating many visa holders seeking to settle here with disrespect. People that have lived here for years, sometimes over a decade, are being made to wait years, sometimes with indefinite service standards, for answers about their future in this country. And the Home Office recently has even taken to lecturing people with the line that citizenship is a privilege, not a right, as if to say, how dare they ask about remaining in a country they've contributed to for so long. So can the Leader of the House bring this to the attention of the ministers in the department and urge them to review their service standards so they can treat these people with a bit more respect?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. He's absolutely right to highlight the positive impact of immigration. But of course, he's also got to be cognizant of the fact that there is concern about levels of immigration, and the government is taking it absolutely seriously. We've made it absolutely clear that no one should have to wait a long time to hear about a decision. But the Home Office is implementing reforms. However, there was a considerable backlog when we came to office. And that also extends to not only making decisions, but making sure that people hear about that in a reasonable time frame. Significant progress has been made in reducing the decision backlog, with a number of people awaiting an initial decision down by more than half from the June 2023 peak. But if the Honourable Gentleman has specific cases which he wishes me to raise, I will certainly raise them with the relevant Minister, as well as the general concern which he raises.
Louise Haigh.
Much, Madam Deputy Speaker. It's not possible to get in a taxi at the moment without the driver rightly raising concerns around cross-border hiring. When the Tories deregulated the taxi licensing laws in 2013 in response to lobbying from Uber, it undermined safeguarding, particularly for children and women. It undercut local markets, and it undermined standards of the quality of service that taxi drivers want to provide to their customers. I know the government is introducing national minimum standards for taxis, but it doesn't go the whole way in tackling this really important issue of cross-border hiring. Will the Leader of the House ensure that there is time in the second session of this Parliament to legislate on cross-border hiring and put proper safety, safeguarding and service standards back at the heart of our taxi industry?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. My honourable friend raises a very important issue. She's a very strong campaigner on these matters, and I welcome her contribution. We did table amendments to the English Devolution Bill as a first step, but we're also committed, as she acknowledges, to delivering robust national minimum standards so that passengers can travel with confidence. She wouldn't expect me to comment on what might be in or might not be in the second session, but we do continue to consider future legislative options on these matters, because there is further work to be done.
Chair of the Backbench Committee, Bob Blackman.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I join with the Leader in congratulating Lord Forsyth on being elected in the other place. In addition to the business that the Leader has announced, next Thursday there will be a Select Committee statement from the Energy Security and Net Zero Committee on their report on tackling the energy cost crisis. Followed by, on Thursday the 29th of January, there'll be a Select Committee statement from the Health and Social Care Committee on the first 1,000 days. In Westminster Hall next Tuesday, there'll be a debate on the role of the NHS in preventing domestic homicides and domestic abuse-related deaths. On Thursday, the 22nd, there'll be a debate on transport connectivity in the Midlands and North Wales, followed by a debate on the International Day of Education. On the 27th of January, there'll be a debate in Westminster Hall on UK bus manufacturing. And on the 29th of January, debates on non-recognition of Russian-occupied territories of Ukraine, followed by a debate on protecting and restoring river habitats. Madam Deputy Speaker, can I advise the Leader, we have a large number of what I would call time-sensitive debates that have been requested for both February and March. So early warning of what dates we're going to get would be very helpful for us to be allocate those debates accordingly. At the pre-recess adjournment debate, Madam Deputy Speaker, I raised the situation of Bangladesh, and the Leader quite rightly wrote to the Foreign Secretary about the disastrous situation that is there now. Hindu men are being murdered on the streets, their houses being burnt, the temples are being burnt, and other religious minorities are suffering similar fates. Next month, there are due to be so-called free and fair elections. The Awami League, who are a major political party in Bangladesh, are banned from competing in those elections, despite the fact they command something like 30% in the opinion polls. Equally, the Islamic extremists have called for a referendum which would change the constitution of Bangladesh forever. So could we have a statement from the Foreign Secretary next week on what action the government is going to take to ensure that there are free, fair and inclusive elections and minorities are protected?
Leader of the House.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And can I thank the honourable gentleman for the work not just of him but of his committee, and for his ever thorough updates. In terms of time and future business, I've heard very much what he said. I understand that some of these matters can be time sensitive. I will do everything that I can to give him the early warning that he asks for, but also make him the offer in the times that we do meet, where perhaps we can look at other opportunities for some of these topics to be discussed, maybe outside of backbench business as well. So I give him that offer. As far as Bangladesh, which he raises, we actively engage with the humanitarian situation and support the interim government on peaceful and credible elections. We have a long-standing commitment to the promotion and protection of human rights, and we continue to stress this to the interim government of Bangladesh. We condemn all acts of violence, whether they're religious or ethnic based, and we welcome the commitments of the interim head of government to the safety of minorities, including where arrests are made. But I will draw to the attention of the Foreign Secretary his comments, and of course I'm sure that the Department will want to bring forward a statement when it is appropriate.
Tonia Antoniazzi.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I have a large number of child maintenance issues that are ongoing for years and years, and it's frankly intolerable. And I'm sure I'm not the only MP in the House. So could the Leader of the House ask the Secretary of State for the Department of Work and Pensions what further steps he's taking to prevent an appeal process being repeatedly used as a delaying tactic, particularly by parents with high-income cases where they are non-residents and they are under-reporting their income?
Madam Deputy Speaker, my honourable friend raises concerns which I'm sure are felt by members across the House. I would point out to her I will raise with the Secretary of State her concerns, but I also point out that there are work and pensions questions later this month.
Mims Davies.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Ofwat have thankfully moved from concerned about repeated and widespread water outages in Sussex and Kent to action. It has significantly affected my constituents once again for the last 5 days in East Grinstead, Ashurst Wood and many Wealdon villages. Repeated failing shambolic performance from South East Water. And my constituents have seen this previously. They want action and accountability. I respectfully ask the Leader of the House to make government time to discuss community, business impact, vulnerable people impact, livestock, and of course the challenges around compensation and performance for those affected. 2.3 million customers are so-called served by this atrocious organisation.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. As far as South East Water are concerned, water supply and shortages, it's an unacceptable supply failure in every regard. We are holding the company to account and being clear that the company, that restoring supply must be their priority and that those affected must receive compensation. But it is further evidence that the water system is broken. And I could go on to talk about other companies, not least Thames Water. The Honourable Lady may wish to look towards perhaps a UQ, if appropriate, or a debate, an adjournment debate to raise these matters further. But she's also alluding to, and rightly alluding to, that there needs to be a longer-term response to this, which is why we've already passed the Water Special Measures Act with the toughest enforcement powers in a decade, and those powers must be used.
McMahon.
Thank you. Reports that the government might be looking to bring a package of support forward for our pubs is much welcome. We know just how important they are for our communities and to bring people together. But the pressures being felt by pubs are also being felt across hospitality, in our restaurants, in our bars, in our cinemas, in our nightclubs. So can I ask the Leader of the House to use his good office to press on HMT that if a package does come forward, it's a whole of hospitality package that is brought?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. My honourable friend is absolutely right to raise this matter on behalf of hospitality in his constituency, and I gave a fuller answer previously on this matter. But what I would say is the government is actively looking at how best we can help pubs, but also looking more widely at what further support we can provide.
Martin Vickers.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Yesterday, Open Doors held their annual event here in Westminster and published their World Watch List. Thanks in particular to the member for Strangford. We often have debates about religious persecution, but could the leader find time for a debate in government time in the chamber when we can look at consider the latest Open Doors list and the persecution that exists across the world?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. He is right to raise these matters. They are of huge concern, and I pay tribute to him, but also to the member for Strangford for doing so consistently and continually. I can't promise him a debate in government time, but I would say to him, should he seek an adjournment debate or indeed a backbench business debate, I'm sure he would find support from across the House.
Shaun Davies.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Residents across Telford and wider Shropshire are reporting long delays for Royal Mail delivery, including my constituent Ed Pritchard, who's waiting for urgent information from the NHS. Together with Post has contacted me privately, telling me that they've been ordered not to deliver Post, but to prioritise parcels. Will the Leader of the House ask the Minister responsible to give this House an urgent statement so that we can get Royal Mail to deliver for Telford, Shropshire and affected areas of the country?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. My honourable friend is absolutely right to raise these matters. I have heard similar rumours as a constituency MP. The reliable delivery of postal services, particularly for urgent health information, is absolutely essential. And constituents are absolutely right in expecting a well-run postal service. I know that Royal Mail pays close attention to issues raised at business questions. But I'll also ensure that the Minister responsible is made aware of my honourable friend's concerns.
Clive Jones.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. The upcoming National Cancer Plan is a vital opportunity to resolve chronic issues in cancer care and to improve survival outcomes after 10 years of neglect from the Conservatives. With the plan's announcement likely to be just a few weeks away, can the Leader of the House confirm what time will be allocated for its full debate and scrutiny by this House?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. When we bring forward proposals, I'm quite sure that the Health Secretary will want to make a statement to this House. And we'll certainly look at what other opportunities there are to debate this, because, as the Honourable Gentleman says, this is of huge concern to members across this House.
Bel Ribeiro Abbey.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Sickle cell anemia is the UK's fastest growing genetic condition, with nearly 300 babies born every year. Instead of increasing specialist capacity, we're seeing the Sickle Cell Day Unit at the Royal London Hospital facing a questionable 6-month trial closure. This will put significant pressure on neighbouring services, extend emergency travel time by up to 2 hours, and place patients at serious and potential fatal risk during a crisis. So I would like to ask my right honourable friend, if 5 years after the APPG for sickle cells report no one's listening, if the government will do what the last government failed to do and make a statement on its plans to deliver a national strategy for specific and specialised sickle cell treatment.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'm sorry to hear of the concerns that my honourable friend raises, particularly the importance of this matter, but also the fact that it takes some time. I go further than simply to raise it with ministers, but I think should she seek a meeting with health ministers, then she can make those concerns directly to them.
John Lamont.
The Scottish Borders is being inundated with new energy infrastructure projects. SNP ministers in Edinburgh blame the Labour government here, and the Labour government here blames the SNP government in Scotland. Frankly, it has become ridiculous. But ultimately, the responsibility rests with the Scottish Government's planning framework, which is allowing these energy projects to be imposed on local communities, even if there are concerns about grid capacity or the local council strongly objects. So I'm very grateful to the Leader of the House if he could facilitate a meeting between the UK Government's Energy Minister, myself and the Scottish Government, so we can provide local communities and the environment with the protection they deserve.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The honourable gentleman is right that planning is indeed a devolved matter. And I would remind the House, it wouldn't be business questions without me reminding the House that we provided the Scottish Government with over £50 billion a year, which is the biggest funding settlement since devolution began. But in direct answer to his question, I'll be happy to facilitate the meeting that he requests.
Michael Payne.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Communities such as Netherfield and Daybrook in my constituency are seeing an unchecked rise in houses of multiple occupation, which is undermining community cohesion and local services, as well as impacting housing availability. Will the Leader of the House urge the Secretary of State for Housing to reverse the previous Conservative government's change to legislation that allowed HMOs to be established without any local planning process and control?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I understand my honourable friend has been working closely with his local council on this matter, and I pay tribute for the diligence of his work. Local authorities do have planning powers to limit the proliferation of HMOs within their area, but we keep the regulation of HMOs under review. I'll ensure that the Secretary of State hears his words and that he gets a response.
John Glenn.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Duncan Grocott came to see me. He's a frequent commuter from Salisbury to London. But along the line through Andover and Basingstoke, we've seen short forming of South Western Rail trains. Compensation can be given for trains when they're late. But when you've got to stand for an hour-and-a-half commute, could the Leader of the House make time for a statement from one of his colleagues in the Department of Transport or whether compensation can be given to all the commuters down that line who are having to stand on 3-carriage trains into London?
Leader of the House. Madam Deputy Speaker, I would perhaps gently start by saying that we're freezing rail fares for the first time in 30 years. Great British Rail bringing train operators back into public ownership from next spring and reducing bureaucracy and increasing accountability. That, however, is not necessarily going to satisfy his commuters. And I would offer to arrange a meeting with a rail minister so that he can make those points directly to them.
Annalise Midgley.
Thank you, Madam Deputy. After 14 years of Conservative austerity, councils like Knowsley have been left on the bones with deep cuts and rising demand. And I know this Labour government is committed to fixing a broken system and funding councils based on need. But in Knowsley, where deprivation is driven by low incomes, the provisional local government settlement doesn't meet the real pressures we face. So will the Leader of the House make sure that the concerns of Liverpool City Region MPs, the Mayor and council leaders are given serious consideration and action so that the final settlement benefits constituencies like mine?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I thank my honourable friend for raising this matter not just on behalf of her constituency but indeed her region and championing the concerns of councils as well as her constituents. The government is making good on a long overdue promise to update the way in which we fund local authorities, and I can give her assurance that ministers are working very hard indeed to make sure that councils, within the limits that we can, that councils are getting the resources that they require. But I'll make sure that the relevant minister is made aware of her concerns.
David Mundell.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and can I add my congratulations to my long-time Scottish Conservative and Unionist colleague Lord Forsyth on his election as Lord Speaker. In the pre-recess debate, I highlighted the exciting prospects for the redevelopment of the Chapel Cross nuclear power station site in my constituency. For that redevelopment to go ahead, it will require an additional extensive connection to the grid. But at the moment, the National Energy Systems Operator, who are in charge of managing the electricity network now, are conducting a review and no large-scale connections are going ahead. So could the Leader of the House ask the Secretary of State for Energy Security and Net Zero to make a statement as to when the National Energy Systems Operator, or NESO's, review will be concluded and these important connections can proceed?
I join the honourable gentleman for bringing this matter to the House. I know that he's a strong advocate on this issue because I recall him raising these matters before the recess. I will raise his concerns with the responsible minister and his reasonable request to see what further progress can be made to give some certainty here, because it does go back to what the Shadow Leader of the House actually, it is about literally joining things up, and that is crucially important. So I will draw those to the attention of the minister.
Patricia Ferguson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. A constituent of mine requires to renew his driving licence annually because of his age. He applied for a renewal in September 25 and has now been told that his hospital consultant was asked for verification of his ability to drive in January 2026. Unfortunately, his consultant has not yet received such a request. Meanwhile, my constituent has lost 3 job offers because he doesn't have a valid driving licence. The Leader of the House is not unfamiliar with the issues about delays at DVSA. So I wonder whether, given this particular case and given what we've heard in previous weeks, whether a debate about the problems of delays at DVSA is now appropriate.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. I thank my honourable friend for raising this matter, and as she alludes to, it's not new during these deliberations, because delays are affecting the lives of constituents right across our country. The DVLA is currently rolling out a new casework system which is expected to deliver significant improvements to the services provided to drivers with medical conditions, but as I've said before, that perhaps is small beer to people who are sitting at home and waiting, but also for people who have job opportunities and are unable to make them. If she gives me the details of this case, I will raise them with ministers to see what further action we can arrange.
Tom Garden.
Madam Deputy Speaker, one of the greatest privileges I've had in this place so far was taking part and sitting on the Assisted Dying Bill Committee. We've seen in the press today there is now concerns and rumours in that Number 10 think that the bill won't be returning before the King's speech and subsequently would fall. I wondered if the Leader of the House might be able to enlighten us what conversations he's having with his counterpart in the other place, whether the government will look to make sure that there's adequate time so that this bill can pass, given that the public perception and polling is in support of the bill, and many people I speak to already think it will come into force and into law. And I would ask the Leader of the House, given that the Prime Minister made a personal promise to Esther Ranson, whether he might gently nudge him in the right direction.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. As the honourable gentleman knows, the government has always said that this is for Parliament to decide. I would say to the other place that they should respect the will of this elected House. We did support the bill. However, their job of scrutiny is up to them, and I would urge them to get on with it so that we make every effort. I'm a supporter of the bill, and the Prime Minister has made it clear he's a supporter of the bill too, but I know there are real concerns about the bill. I've also made clear that should their lordships arrive at the point where, presumably with amendments made, it comes back to this place, we will facilitate time here to make that happen. But we've got to be clear about this. The Lords have got a job to do. They're getting on with it in a particular way. We might not like it, but it's their job to get the bill into shape. And if it can get back here, we'll do everything we can to get it onto the statute books. But it's not a government bill.
Members should be aware that I am seeking to finish business questions by around 12:30, so please keep questions short and succinct. Rachel Hopkins.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. May I take this opportunity to publicly praise Luton Town Football Club for calling out racist online comments directed at several of its black players, and earlier this week at its assistant manager Chris Powell following Luton's great win over Stevenage. Would the Leader of the House join me in condemning those who express these racist and prejudicial views online? And would he make time for a statement on the progress of the implementation of the Online Safety Act in this regard?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I certainly join my honourable friend in condemning the views that she described. There is absolutely no place for hatred of any kind in our society. There's been real progress made in football in general, but in many football grounds, and it's a pity that she has to continue to raise these matters. I also join her in praising Luton Town Football Club for doing their part in fighting against racism, and all the other football clubs who take this matter extremely seriously. She may wish to raise her concerns directly with ministers at the next DSIT questions, which I understand are on the 4th of February.
Robbie Moore.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. In Ilkley, Labour-run Bradford Council is shockingly set to remove the town's 1 hour free on-street parking, despite over 4,000 residents objecting to these proposals. And this follows a local referendum in the town where 90% of residents rejected a blanket 20-mile-an-hour zone and speed humps, only for the results of that poll to be ignored by the Labour mayor, who used his casting vote to push the vote through and outrageously said to residents should save their vote for Strictly, and then went on to bill taxpayers £190,000 for the privilege. Ministers often say that decisions are for local leaders, but what happens when local leaders are outright ignoring the views of the public? So will the Leader of the House allow time for debate on the role of central government in areas where local democracy is clearly failing?
Leader of the House.
Deputy Speaker, the honourable gentleman is absolutely right to raise these concerns, and clearly there is real concern in his constituency. But he won't be surprised if I say that parking is a matter for local authorities. It is a matter for local leaders. It's not for the government to tell them how to manage things at that level. But if local people are unhappy with their local representatives, they have got the power to do something about it.
Gareth Snell.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Could I encourage the Leader of the House through his role on the Restoration and Renewal Board and on the House of Commons Commission to ensure that when restoration and renewal of this place takes forward, that multi-billion-pound investment in this building, that every penny and every pound, where possible, is put into a British industry, a British manufacturer, a British artisan or craftsman, starting, of course, with making sure that we're using, wherever possible, Stoke-on-Trent ceramics.
Leader of the House.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. My honourable friend will know, because we've discussed this at length, and should I say to the House, by the way, that there is a report from the client board which we do intend to publish, and I stick to my commitment that once that has been allowed to be considered fully, that we will consider it, both houses will consider it, and MPs will actually have a final say on this. My view is that renewal and restoration is a great opportunity to do something on a huge scale, which will be a big boost to the economy, which is not just about London, actually. It's about all parts of the country. A lot of the stone that that this place was built on comes from Yorkshire. The ironwork, the steelworking comes from Sheffield. And as he has pointed out, many of the tiles come from his part of the country. And should the House decide to take these matters forward, I'd expect that people in every part of the country would get the benefit from that, because after all, Madam Deputy Speaker, this House belongs to them.
Nick Timothy.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. People in West Suffolk are furious at the prospect of the county council elections being cancelled yet again, and I want to reiterate my opposition to that decision. This morning, the BBC reported that Suffolk County Council had requested that the elections be cancelled. This is completely untrue, as the County Council leader, Matthew Hicks, has made clear. The BBC has corrected the record, but it got that story from somewhere, and everyone suspects that government officials or advisers briefed the media accordingly because the government wants to cancel the elections and blame somebody else. The elections are now only 4 months away, so can we have a decision made and a statement made as soon as possible?
Leader of the House.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. We can't be held accountable for a misspeak by the BBC on these matters, but I think the honourable gentleman's going a little bit far to find a conspiracy behind everything, which is that I would gently point out the record has been corrected in terms of that particular council, but the reality is that across where requests have been made not to bring forward elections, not least because in some areas we would have councils and councillors elected for a very short period of time. There have been various requests to be made, some of them have been made by Labour authorities, some by Lib Dem authorities, but others by Conservative-led authorities.
Liz Twist.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Next Monday is Brew Monday, reclaimed by Samaritans from the marketing myth of Blue Monday, when we're all miserable. Can I invite the leader, all MPs, and of course yourself, Madam Deputy Speaker, to join me and Samaritans in the Jubilee Room for a chat and a cuppa, and meet Samaritans and learn about their work? And can we have a debate in government time on the importance of talking with and listening to other people? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I want to thank my honourable friend for all of her work on this incredibly serious issue of suicide prevention, and for championing the fantastic work of the Samaritans and the Brew Monday campaign. The government is fully committed to delivering the suicide prevention strategy for England. We've listened to what my honourable friend and others have said on these matters, and we're investing a significant £3.6 million specifically in suicide prevention, with a particular focus on middle-aged men.
And Davies.
Madam Cyfarydd, Consumer Energy Solutions went into administration last week, costing nearly 300 jobs and leaving Welsh households stuck waiting for repairs for faulty Eco4 work. Two parts to my question, if the Leader of the House and the Deputy Speaker will allow. What immediate support is the Government offering to those impacted by the closure of CES? And whilst I'm fully aware of the work that the Public Accounts Committee did following the work by the National Audit Office, but can the Leader of the House make time for a debate in Government time for all aspects, not just the insulation, but all aspects of Eco4, given its abject failure to deliver for so many people of Caerfyrddin and Wales?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I must confess I'm not fully across this matter, so my reaction to the Honourable Lady is this. If she wishes to expand a little on that, she may seek an adjournment debate or even a backbench business debate on these matters, or I will facilitate a meeting with the relevant minister so that she can explain her concerns and the minister can explain what if we are able to do anything about it, what the government is able to do about it.
Lindsay Farnsworth.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. It is an indisputable fact that Amber Valley has the best pubs in the country. It's true. Pubs like the Moot Bar in Alfreton, Tom said in Ripley, and the Tap Inn in Losco near Heeley. So I welcome the government support that has been announced for pubs, including the £4.3 billion for businesses, as COVID-era business rates relief is phased out. However, increases in valuations does mean that many pubs still face sharp increases. So what assurance can the Leader of the House give to publicans directly, including those in Amber Valley, that there will still be support for the Great British Pub and it will be protected as a community hub?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I thank my honourable friend for championing local pubs. We, as she does, hugely value the role that they play in our communities, which is why in the budget we put in £4.3 billion of support over 3 years to help pubs. But we do recognise, as I said previously, that some pubs are still worried, which is why the Chancellor has commissioned work examining a pub support package, and that work is ongoing. But I also note, Madam Deputy Speaker, that Alter Ego beer is on the waiting list for strangers bars, so we can all perhaps try it sooner rather than later.
James Wilde.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. 1,600 people were killed on our roads last year. So can we have a debate on the government's road safety strategy and toughening driving sentences, including steps to protect horses and riders like my constituent Emma and many others in North West Norfolk and across the country who feel increasingly frightened and unsafe due to dangerous and abusive driving on our rural roads?
Madam Deputy Speaker, as the honourable gentleman is implying, it's really important that the government has brought forward a road safety strategy, the first one in over a decade, and we have ambition to reduce death and serious injuries on Britain's roads by almost 2/3 by 2035, and there are a number of measures, as he knows, in that strategy. I will give consideration of his ask for a debate on these matters, because road safety has been raised by many members in this session over the last few weeks and months.
Douglas McAllister.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The Secretary of State for Work and Pensions, in his statement to the House on the 11th of November, advised that he would retake the earlier decision of the Government on the question of how 1950s women were affected by maladministration of pension age changes communication. I have almost 6,000 WASPy women in my Western Bartonshire constituency who are rightfully impatient for this matter to be finally resolved. Does the Leader of the House expect the Minister to update the House soon, and if so, when is that expected?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. As my honourable friend has said, we are re-looking at the decision regarding WASPy women. I know it's an issue of serious concern to many of our constituents, and we do want to resolve the matter as soon as we can. The Secretary of State is absolutely committed to updating the House on this decision. I can't give a date for that, but as soon as a conclusion is reached, I'd expect the Secretary of State to want to inform the House.
Charlie Dewhurst.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Local rugby clubs like Bridlington, Driffield and Hornsey do an enormous amount to engage young men and women in sport, and this year, 2026, is Driffield's centenary. So will the Leader of the House join me on congratulating Driffield on their first 100 years, and can I tempt him to don his kit when the Commons and Lords rugby team plays Driffield in a charity match for the Injured Players Foundation at Twickenham in March?
Leader of the House.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I certainly join the honourable gentleman in paying tribute at two levels. First of all, to the importance of rugby clubs in our communities. They do a fantastic job, but also Driffield centenary year is absolutely fantastic. He will see that I'm not desperately keen to take up his offer. I would not only be, should I join the parliamentary team, not only would I be in danger of dangerous tackles from the other side, I'd probably be in danger of dangerous tackles from our side.
Mary Kelly-Foy.
The City of Durham is home to fantastic hospitality businesses, and I've had the pleasure of visiting some of them recently, like the Station Pub in Langley Moor, as well as Notch and Kit's Pool Room and Bar in the city. Now, we're aware that the hospitality sector is facing an existential crisis, with many much-loved cafes, pubs and restaurants and hotels struggling to survive. So will the Leader of the House please urge his colleagues in the Treasury and the Department for Business and Trade to listen to the calls of campaigners and backbench MPs and address the House urgently to commit to a sector-wide business rate solution?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I thank the honourable friend for her question, and she raises an important matter. I can assure that the government is listening on these matters. We are introducing new permanently lower tax rates for eligible retail, hospitality and leisure properties, but we're also introducing a hospitality support scheme, and the Chancellor, as I've said previously in an answer, has commissioned work to examine a specific pub support package.
Sarah Dye.
Speaker, dairy farmers across Glastonbury and Somerton are competing against imports of cheaper New Zealand cheese and butter from the USA, but there is no obligation for these products to be labelled with point of origin. The result is a dramatic collapse in milk prices at the farm gates, and many farmers are now producing milk for less than the cost of production, and in utter desperation we hear of farmers throwing milk down the drain. So can the Leader of the House advise me how I may secure a meeting with the Minister to discuss fairness in the supply chain, not only for farmers to give them confidence, but to give our consumers the confidence that they can back British farming?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Ensuring fairness in supply chains is key for UK dairy farmers, and the government recognises that the Fair Dealing Obligations Milk Regulations 2024 do improve fairness and transparency. They require dairy contracts to include clear terms on pricing, termination and prohibiting unilateral changes. And through our New Deal for Farmers, we are supporting growth and making the supply chain fairer. My colleagues in DEFRA will have heard the honourable lady's remarks, and if she writes to me, I will ensure that she gets the meeting that she seeks.
David Baines.
Deputy Speaker, Sue and Dave Cook from St Helens have been awarded MBEs for their services to fostering. They've helped to take care of children for over 20 years. In Sue's words, to be able to give back to these children from St Helens who need us, it is an honour, it is a privilege to have them in our home. Will the Leader join me in paying tribute to Sue and Dave Cook and to foster carers everywhere? And will he join me in encouraging anyone in St Helens North who wants to make a difference to a child's life to get in touch with the Council's fostering team for more information?
Leader of the House.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I absolutely thank not just my honourable friend for raising the work of Sue and Dave Cook, but others. And I pay him in paying tribute to them. They may talk about the remarkable people that they look after, but they are truly remarkable people in the care that they give. We depend upon foster carers providing an important role because they literally change the lives of many children for the better. And we want to ensure that carers can provide their vital services, why we are putting money behind that, £44 million to support kinship and foster carers, and £25 million to recruit more foster families and support carers. I hope that my honourable friend's calls have been heard outside, and that more people will come forward to do what is such an important job.
Andrew Rossendale.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The Leader of the House needs to be aware that London councils are considering scrapping the older person's freedom pass, which has left my constituents shocked, angry and dismayed. The freedom pass is a lifeline for many, providing access to free transport and enabling older people to live active lives. he will be aware that I recently presented the Transport for London Extension of Concessions Bill to the House, which would protect the Freedom Pass for all areas served by Transport for London, including Havering and beyond, which is clearly now more important than ever. So, will the Leader provide government time for the second reading of my bill so that we can protect, defend and extend the Freedom Pass for our senior citizens who live in the entire Transport for London region?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'm not able to offer more time. He will be aware that there's quite a queue for time for private members' bills if we need to take some of them forward. That we've had the 13 sitting days. We're not in a situation to provide more government time. But I am reliably informed that in fact what the Honourable Gentleman claims is the case is not necessarily true. I'm also informed that Labour councillors across London are the ones who have risen to this challenge, and this isn't going ahead. Now, I'm sorry if that is not an accurate account, Madam Deputy Speaker, but that is the latest account that I have. So it's good news for the Honourable Gentleman if that is the case. And he has put forward a petition on these matters, so I'm sure that gives him ample opportunity, if it is the correct analysis of what I've said, that he can go out and claim credit for it.
Rachel Blair.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. My constituents across the cities of London and Westminster have raised concerns with me about managing agents such as First Port and Freshwater using in-house insurance brokers that are related to them in order to procure buildings insurance, and that this has an impact on rising service charges that are rising above levels of inflation. Will the Leader of the House support me in seeking parliamentary time to debate this important issue and the solutions that this House can bring forward?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. It is an important question that my honourable friend raises, and I thank her for her work in advocating on this important matter. We are implementing the Leasehold and Freehold Reform Act to strengthen protections over charges and services, but we will also publish the draft Leasehold and Common Hold Reform Bill as soon as possible. I'm sure that should she seek, because these are concerns from many colleagues across the House, should she seek an adjournment debate or even backbench business debate, then she would find support for that. But also when we do bring forward further measures, that will give her time to amplify the concerns that she's raised today.
Sir Ashley Fox.
Madam Deputy Speaker, can I agree with the point raised by the Honourable Lady? In the village of Cossington, there is a small housing estate which has the misfortune to be managed by First Port. My residents had to put up with unexplained charges, poor service, and a complete lack of transparency. Now, while my residents have wisely changed to a new management company, First Port's incompetence continues to afflict them. Despite repeated requests, including from my office, First Port have failed to provide the financial information required to allow my residents to complete their statutory accounts. So can I ask the Leader of the House for an urgent statement on how the government will enable residents to hold failing management companies to account?
Leader of the House.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed, Madam Deputy Speaker. I hope First Port have heard what the Honourable Gentleman has said, but again, my understanding, and I hope it's true, is that the Minister has brought in First Port to discuss these matters and to get their game in order. But if the Honourable Gentleman wishes to seek a meeting with the Minister, then I'll try to facilitate that too.
Sally Jameson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Audiology services in Doncaster have faced huge problems for some time, and whilst the Trust are working hard to improve the service, it's unacceptable that some of my constituents have been waiting years for basic hearing tests and hearing aid needs. I want to pay tribute to Maggie and Paul from the Audiology Action Group, who've done a huge amount of work to raise this issue. But does the Leader of the House agree with me that this service is unacceptable for my constituents, and really look to perhaps making some time to have a debate in this House about raising awareness of how important audiology is, both in Doncaster and across the country?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I join with the honourable friend in paying tribute to her constituents and to her for raising this important matter. Audiology is a vital part of healthcare in our country. She may wish to apply for a Westminster Hall debate to go into this more fully, or raise the matter at health orals, which are taking place on the 24th of February.
Jim Shannon.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Can I thank the Leader of the House for the opportunity to ask a question in relation to turning our attention to Bangladesh. The Chair of the Back-Based Committee referred to some of the issues. In the weeks leading up to February 26 parliamentary elections, there have been reports of a deterioration in the security situation for religious minorities, and they're very, very evidently clear. Since December last year, at least 51 serious incidents have reportedly been recorded, including murders, arson attacks on homes, places of worship, looting of businesses and cases of torture. So will the Leader of the House, who is very kind every week to reassure me, but I think it's important that those in Bangladesh are reassured and those who have asked me, will the Leader of the House ask the Foreign Secretary what steps the government will take to raise these concerns with the Bangladeshi authorities and to ensure that all civilians, regardless of their religious belief, are protected? Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Madam Deputy Speaker. As the Honourable Gentleman knows, the UK is committed to defending freedom of religious or belief for all, and I thank him for raising these important matters, as he invariably does. We condemn all acts of violence targeting religious or ethnic minorities in Bangladesh, and we have repeatedly raised the importance of protecting minorities within that country. I'll ensure that the Foreign Secretary hears his concerns and see what further steps may be taken.
Aaron Moon.
Whereas, Madam Deputy Speaker, following the truly devastating impacts of Storm Goretti, one of the lessons that must be learnt is that parts of Cornwall should never again be completely cut off, no way in or out, no power, no water and no means of communicating with the outside world. My Campbell, Redruth and Haigh constituency is 624th out of 650 constituencies for mobile connectivity, with Cornwall on the front line of increasing it frequent Atlantic storms. Will the Leader of the House, as a matter of urgency, help me arrange to discuss Cornish communications resilience with DSIT ministers?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I thank my honourable friend for raising this important matter, and I want to associate myself with the words of the Security Minister on Tuesday and provide absolute assurance on the seriousness with which the Government takes these matters. There are statutory obligations on telecom providers to maintain the availability of services, and we will ensure that we draw the right lessons from the response, and I will certainly ask ministers to meet with my honourable friend as a matter of urgency.
Emma Foodie.
Madam Deputy Speaker. I've been working with local people living in Kirkwood in Burridon, Hadrian Court in Killingworth and in Beacon Hill in Cramlington in places for people properties. And we've seen significant problems with repairs there. And we're not talking about minor inconveniences, Madam Deputy Speaker. In one case, there was a missing window for 4 months on one property, another water from the ceiling for more than a year, and another a bathroom leak which was unresolved after 5 years. Can we please have a debate on social housing repairs and oversight of housing providers?
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'm sorry to hear the issues my honourable friend has raised, and I hope that places of people have heard her comments and raised their game. No resident should be left waiting for a long time for repairs in their home, and I think this matter in general would be a popular topic for a Westminster Hall debate, should she wish to apply for one.
Samantha Niblett.
Madam Deputy Speaker. In the village of Overseal in my constituency of South Derbyshire, retrospective planning has been submitted for a traveller site where unauthorised work was carried out over a bank holiday weekend, making it less likely authorities would be made aware. But they were made aware, and a stop notice was issued and subsequently ignored. Whilst as a country we might need more authorised traveller sites, retrospective planning in such circumstances, denying residents opportunity to challenge and effectively presenting a fait accompli is not acceptable, and sites like this should not be approved by underhand tactics and playing the system. So can the Leader of the House help me secure a meeting with the relevant minister to discuss underhand use of the planning system?
Very much indeed, Madam Deputy Speaker. I thank my honourable friend for raising this matter. She's a fierce advocate for her constituents. I do share her concerns regarding the use and abuse of the planning system that she describes. Local authorities and the police do have a range of powers to manage unauthorised encampments, and I understand from my honourable friend, the Minister, that we are tightening up on the rules on these matters, but I will be more than happy to facilitate the meeting that she requests.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Last summer, my constituency suffered the devastating Langdale Moor wildfire. The local community, including farmers and businesses, stepped in to help firefighters battle the enormous blaze, which at its height covered 10 square miles. Yet, unlike flooding, there is no clear route to government grants for wildfire events. Does the Leader of the House agree with me that we urgently need to look at widening the Farming Recovery Fund and Flood Recovery Framework to wildfires?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I thank my honourable friend for raising this matter and for the work of her local community in tackling the devastating fire. We are funding a National Resilience Wildfire Advisor so that we can increase resilience. And I will draw this to the attention of the relevant minister. Should she wish to meet with the relevant minister and raise this specific example, I will try to facilitate that.
Paul Wall.
Deputy Speaker, the British Bangladeshi community in Rochdale and across the whole of the North West and stretching as far as Scotland and the Midlands rely on the Biman Airlines direct flight from Manchester to Sylhet. But Biman suddenly announced the suspension of that route, cutting off a lifeline for families and businesses who travel and trade between our two countries, and leaving many facing the huge cost of travelling directly through London instead. Would the Leader join me and every other MP across the North in urging the airline to think again, listen to our constituents and restore this flight as soon as possible?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I thank my honourable friend for making such a powerful case for the restoration of this flight link. These links are vital for family travel, for bereavements and indeed for business. And I'm sure the airline has heard from the member today the strength of feeling among the Bangladeshi community in Rochdale and indeed across the region. And I certainly hope that they're listening to what he says.
Catherine Atkinson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The temporary bridge at Darley Abbey Mills was forced to close before Christmas due to sudden riverbank deterioration. No one is legally liable for the old bridge. And despite not owning it, the council built a temporary one in 2022 and is assessing whether it can be safely reopened. And our East Midlands Mayor has funded work to explore a new bridge. But in the meantime, businesses have lost vital footfall and residents are worried about being cut off entirely if there's flooding. I've had many local meetings, but could the Leader of the House advise me as to the best way to seek additional government support when no one is liable for essential infrastructure like Darley Abbey Bridge?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I thank the honourable friend for raising the situation at Darley Abbey and the disruption to local businesses and to the wider community is of great concern. I will make sure that the relevant minister has heard her remarks on these matters, and should she seek a meeting with the minister, I will seek to facilitate that.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Told that he was £472 in arrears mistakenly for child support, my constituent Daniel White was then told that his situation was resolved, only to hear that he was in fact £1,800 in arrears months later. Diagnosed with leukemia and unable to work, my constituent Nada Nurapana found out months after applying to EMS and while recovering from a bone marrow transplant that he had to reapply without explanation. Daniel and Nada are left dangling for an answer. Both are chasing a fix. How can I work with the Department for Work and Pensions to get the right solution for my constituents? I'm going to keep fighting on their behalf, and the DWP need to do better.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I never underestimate when my honourable friend says he's fighting for his constituents on their behalf, because he is a fearless advocate for his constituents, and I'm grateful that he has raised these matters. He has raised these issues before. It has now been put on record. He asked what further he can do. There are DWP questions shortly, and it's another opportunity for him to raise his concerns.
Chris Blaw.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Worcestershire County Council has repeatedly failed children and families with SEND and disabilities. Many parents report persistent failures to meet statutory duties and experiences of being dismissed or gaslit, causing prolonged distress to families already under extreme pressure. Against this background, would the Leader of the House permit a debate in government time on the effectiveness of the powers available to intervene where local authorities are failing to meet their statutory SEND duties?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I thank my honourable friend for this question. As we've said many times before, the SEND system is broken. It doesn't work for children or indeed for their parents. Our school's white paper will deliver reform to the system that children desperately need and deserve, and as that progresses, I'm sure there will be lots of opportunity to debate these matters. On his constituency concern, an improvement notice was issued to Worcestershire in 2024. The Department for Education continues to monitor progress. If my honourable friend wants an update on that, then there are education orals on Monday in which he can make his case directly to the Minister.
And with the final question, Ger Platt.
Thank you so much, Madam Deputy Speaker. So last week I visited Howbridge Leisure Centre to meet Sensei Billy Higgins to watch one of his much-loved karate sessions. There are too many accolades to list here today, but as a founder, international champion and dedicated instructor, Billy has transformed young people's confidence, resilience and sense of belonging. So can I ask the Leader of the House to acknowledge the significance of Billy's work and how we can celebrate people like Billy and their important contribution to our communities?
Deputy Speaker, I thank my honourable friend for bringing this to the House's attention, the truly inspiring work of Billy Higgins at the Howbridge Leisure Centre. I wholeheartedly agree with her that this kind of work deserves to be celebrated. She used the words life-changing. That is an absolutely correct way of doing that. She's played her part by raising this matter today because we thank people, not just across our own communities, but across the country, for the dedication that they have to such an important matter.
That concludes the business statement, and can I reassure members that we do have a list of members who have not managed to get in today.